Back on the Sports Max Zone earlier Thursday, Man United fans received confirmation of a story that's been pretty much on the cards for a while. The announcement that the Dutchman Erik Ten Hag has been appointed by the club's as the club's new manager, pending visa and work permit requirements. Ten Hag's appointment will initially run for 3 years, with an option of extending for a further year. The club released an official statement that quoted John Murtaugh, its football director, as saying, "During the past 4 years at Ajax, Erik has proved himself to be one of the most exciting and successful coaches in Europe, renowned for his team's attractive attacking football and commitment to youth." Also included in the club's statement was a response from Ten Hag, which stated, "It is a great honour to be appointed manager of Manchester United. I know the history of this great club and the passion of the fans, and I am absolutely determined to develop a team capable of delivering the success they deserve." Joining us to discuss Ten Hag's appointment and what's required to bring the process of rebuilding Man United, former TNT international Brent Sancho. Well, Brent, you were a constant critic of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and overall Man United's production for a few years now. What do you make of this move, and is there hope or reason for Man United fans to become optimistic?
Look, I think Ten Hag is a good appointment in terms of what's out there, in terms of top-level coaches and in the game right now. He's certainly up there. Of course, the structural issues that plague Manchester United since Alex Ferguson left is still there. And there's a lot within the club that's still not right. Yes, I do think Ten Hag has possibly within him as a manager the possibilities of changing things. But a lot is not so much, Lance, about Ten Hag, but it's about the club, Manchester United. Structurally, the way, the command system, how things work there, is that going to be fixed? Is Ten Hag going to be given, of course, the opportunity to fix this club inside out? And I think that is the overarching question.
Yeah, there was a report in, I think, Sky News over the weekend with Gary Neville, former Man United defender, now a pundit, begging for the Glazers to give up ownership of Manchester United. He used terms like rotten as a descriptor for Man United's current culture and state of affairs. Is that something that would assist this process?
Yeah, I think if you look at the history of the Glazers since they've been in, look, there's no doubt they've invested in the club in terms of transfers, in terms of squad, in terms of salaries of players. But I think in terms of the footballing structure of the club, I think that's where they've fallen short. They have not allowed the process of what we would see in other big clubs in Europe come to fruition. They seem to want to be part and parcel of decision making, which you don't really see at the top tier level. And it is probably, and if you look at the way they run Tampa Bay and other the American sports that they do run, they have that system, a way of doing things. And maybe they are the problem. I would suggest that I do agree with Gary, because I do think that the problem is the ownership. And because if you look at the way they've done things, they've gone down a particular route. And unless they're willing to change that, then you're spinning top in mud. Yes, Ten Hag has agreed to work with a director of football, but I think the problems are a lot bigger than that. And whether or not the Glazers are either A, ready to relinquish control, or B, willing to completely change their managerial style in sports, I think as much as Ten Hag is a good candidate and a good coach, he will encounter the same issues that other previous managers would have faced.
Yeah, Brent, and speaking about, rebuilding Manchester United and ensuring that, what has happened in the past isn't repeated. Now, after the fact that Liverpool thrashed Manchester United 4-0, their current manager right now, Ralph Rangnick, he came to the forefront and he even said that they would need to at least bring in 10 new players, get rid of the ones that they're carrying at the club. Do you get the sense that Erik Ten Hag would be crucial in proper recruitment for the club?
Listen, Mariah, I think they could bring in 1,000 players and it still would work. Because if your structure is not right, if the culture in the club is not correct, it's not going to work. And I think that's the problem in Manchester United. When you look at what they've been able to do, what they've done over the course of time in terms of net spend, something like $1 billion they've spent in recruitment. They're top of the Premiership in terms of money spent. But because the culture is not right, because there's some sort of disease within the club and the way it's run, players are coming in and are not performing because of what is around them, the environment that they have to perform in. So my point is, even if you bring in the top players in world football, it's not going to work. All you have to do is look across the pond, look across the English Channel to PSG. They brought in all the talent in the world. It's still not working for them as it relates to Champions League and winning big games. Because the culture of the club, structure of the club, and the business of the club has to run correctly for, of course, things on the pitch to run correctly.
Yeah, I take your point, Brent. Now another question specifically to Erik Ten Hag and how he fits at Manchester United. I get the fact that people say that he's a proven winner. Yeah, he's a proven winner at Ajax, which is a different level of football when you think about the English Premier League, where there are top competitors like Manchester City and Liverpool, just to name a few. Do you think Erik Ten Hag has what it takes to turn around Manchester United fortunes? And I'm not talking about off the pitch issues now. I'm just focusing on the players at hand and Erik Ten Hag trying to bring back Manchester United when there are other managers who came there before and they were unable to do so.
Look, any conversation about coaching in Ajax is different than coaching in England. That's an English conversation. That's not true. Because look at Patrick Vieira. He coached in the MLS and is doing very well at Crystal Palace. So once a coach is able to establish his philosophy, is able, of course, to bring in all his culture and everything that he wants to do and was able to do at Ajax, he will be fine. And I think in his pedigree, we looked at Ajax from a footballing perspective. They're one of the more exciting teams in Europe. He's certainly been a serial winner. He's lost a lot of his team from that successful team that did very well in the Champions League 2 or 3 years ago, and still been able to be very competitive on the European landscape. So for me, from a tactical, from a brain, from a man that's been able to do things correctly, I do rate him very, very highly. But as I said, a lot of a coach's success comes down to what the board, what the direction of the club is. And again, we've listened to complaints from Jose Mourinho when he was there, Louis van Gaal. I can go through the entire list. And until that is fixed, I think Ten Hag's appointment rests solely on that situation. There are several players that need to leave from Manchester United. There's no doubt about that. But I think whoever he brings in has to come into the right environment, and it has to be, for lack of a better word, a Ten Hag environment for them to be successful. Yeah,
which might be very difficult. What we know, though, about Erik Ten Hag is he's known for his commitment to youth and the youngsters. You know, he's known for molding them and bringing them up to a particular level. Now, Erik Ten Hag working at Manchester United, and I'm just thinking about the current crop of players because there hasn't been any trade or anything right now, any transfer and whatnot. Erik Ten Hag now dealing with these big superstars. Does he have the personality, you know, the persona to make these big decisions that will affect the club and rub some players wrongly?
I think his first big decision is whether or not he keeps Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think that is, and from where I sit, that is going to set the tone as to how he manages in Manchester United. Look, don't get me wrong. I think Ronaldo has been a tremendous signing for United. He's probably been the only positive. However, if Ten Hag is to come into a dressing room, wrestle back the environment in that dressing room, because there's no doubt that it's a toxic environment. When you look at Manchester United play, the effort, the energy levels, etc., it's not there. It's non-existent. A lot of those players don't want to be there. They have their issues. They have their ways. The point is, that Ronaldo situation is going to set the tone for Ten Hag's managerial, 3-year managerial stint or longer. If he can solve that conundrum early, very early, I think that would now lead to the platforms that are necessary for the changes at Manchester United.
Yeah, Brent, if you were in Ten Hag's position, does Cristiano Ronaldo at 37 years old, would he be a part of your plan for the coming season?
No, no chance.
Why not? Why not?
No, he's not. He's not up to the way that Ten Hag wants to play. He is a mobile. Ten Hag's front three and his team is extremely mobile, filled with youth, filled with energy. don't get me wrong. I think what Ronaldo, and again, people have to understand, what Ronaldo have done this season for Manchester United has been exceptional. Can he do that in a Ten Hag's approach? No, he won't be able to do it. And we have to be honest. He is a great player, arguably one of the best players to ever play the sport. But will he be able to do that throughout this entire English season? Whether or not they qualify for Champions League, that's not the point. But a long battering English season, he's not going to be able to do that. And I think, as well as off the pitch as well, Lance, I think his ego, what he comes with, may not suit well to everything that Ten Hag wants. So, as far as I sit, I would not take him on board. I would look for a different direction. I'd look to put my foot down, and I look to stamp my authority within the squad.
Yeah, a lot has been said about his emphasis on youth and the fact that he's been able to do so well with youth players coming through the Ajax system at the moment. Neres, Anthony, among those that are flourishing under his guidance. Van de Beek has been a disappointment since coming to Man United. He's away on loan now, isn't he? Do you consider him probably going back for a player like that? Because you were an international player for a long time, Brent, and you know the concept of players who play for coaches. There's a different mindset, there's a different energy depending on which coach you're playing for. Do you see someone like Van de Beek coming back on the Ten Hag and flourishing in a way that we haven't seen him under Ole or Rangnick?
Yeah, I do. And look, and I would go even further than that, Lance. I would suggest people like Maguire, Rashford, the names. Look, these guys didn't come into Manchester United and were automatically poor. Maguire was, I think, voted Player of the Year the first season that he came in at Manchester United. Rashford was touted to every single team in Europe. And these players have now fallen into that toxic environment that is currently Manchester United. If Ten Hag comes in, it gives everybody a fresh slate, an ability to play. I would even throw Anthony Martial in that situation. The point is, until that toxic environment is changed, and I do feel that Ten Hag can change it, if, of course, all that we've spoken about as it relates to the structure is correct, I think people, Van de Beek, etc., would have an opportunity to show themselves. It gives everyone a fresh opportunity. I don't believe that Manchester United's squad is as horrible as everyone makes it seem. I do believe, however, that because of the environment that they're all playing in, it has become horrible. It's become a horror show. And until that is fixed, and again, I would suggest that of course, bringing in Rangnick was a horrible decision by Manchester. How do you bring in, of course, a trainee coach or interim coach and a club as the size of Manchester United? When you're Manchester United, you go out, you see a coach, you want him, you pay him money, you get him. That's what big clubs do. And they didn't do that. And I think all of that has evolved and snowballed into what we see now. As I said, Ten Hag has the ability to change all of this, but he has to be given the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, Brent, Manchester United hasn't been the same since Sir Alex Ferguson left almost 10 years ago. In your mind, they've gone through so many coaches since then. In your mind, which has been their best coach since Sir Alex Ferguson?
I would want to suggest maybe Jose Mourinho, and simply because he's the only one that won any silverware. And I think where Jose Mourinho became unstuck is his fight with the board, is his fight with the club. We've heard some of the song bites as it relates to wanting to bring in particular players, being denied that opportunity. And I think that's where... And
fight with players as well, because we remember the well-documented conflict he had with Paul Pogba.
Exactly. And I think that is where it tweaked things. And a lot of the Manchester United hierarchy believed bringing in Ole Gunnar changed the culture. It didn't. It made it worse, because here's someone that, of course, came in and pacified a lot of what was wrong within the club. So I think Jose has probably had the best stint there. But what is glaring, Lance, is the fact that you can actually see, anyone that's involved in the sport could easily see where Manchester United has gone wrong and where they continue to go wrong. And even though they have brought in Motog and they've brought in Darren Fletcher, I still don't think they are good enough to get them out of this process. That's why I'm suggesting that Ten Hag needs a lot of control as it relates to what comes in the club and what goes out. That's the only way I feel things could change at Manchester United.
Brent, always great talking to you. We'll be in touch.
Certainly, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, of course, Erik Ten Hag doesn't take control of Manchester United until the end of the season. It's a very heavy football programme on the Sports Max Zone today. We go to a break and we'll be back with a lot more.
Stay with Sports Max on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.